try to protect your child from harm, then something terrible happens. When one mother in Florida saw her little daughter struck down by a car, she felt helpless. But she knew one thing: she could not let her daughter die. It is a welcome sound on a hot day, the chime of an ice cream truck. But when Dorothy Walker, a mother of 5, decided to splurge one afternoon and buy her children each a cone, she had no idea her treat would lead to tragedy.
It's not a habit for me to go to the ice cream truck because I just, don't, I'm home. Finances, it's easier to give them ice cream out of the freezer, you know what I mean? So that was kind of a real big thing to them because I don't do it.
As her children lined up for their ice cream, a strange feeling came over Dorothy.
So I look at them, I says, hold hands. So they had this chain, one arm, ice cream, one hand, ice cream, one hand, ice cream.
4-year-old Zoe Walker was paired with her older sister, Sharni. But it was hot and Sharni's hands were slippery. As they waited to cross the street to their house, they saw a car heading towards them.
I thought it was gonna turn and she thought it was gonna turn. So I told her not to go and then she just slipped out my hand and ran.
And at that second is when I heard Sharni scream.
I said, Zoe, come back. But she didn't listen to me.
At that moment, I reach out to get Zoe. The car, it was like snatched. And it took her, and she was under it. It ran her completely over.
Dragged beneath the car for nearly a block, Zoe's little body was left mangled and bleeding. What no one knew was that she had snapped her neck at the second vertebrae, and any movement could injure her spinal cord, leaving her paralyzed or dead. All Dorothy could see was that her little girl's life was slipping away.
At that moment, I knew this is not a time to cry, this is a time to pray. And I spoke to her in her ear. Zoe Walker, you will live and not die, and you will proclaim the glory of the Lord. And I said it again. Zoe Walker, you will live and not die, and proclaim the glory of the Lord. Excuse me. And her eye kind of came to focus, and she stopped gurgling. She started crying.
To Dorothy, it was a sign that God had heard her prayers and Zoe would be all right. Doctors weren't as optimistic.
They said that you should call your pastor and a funeral director because all we can do is give her something for the pain.
When she first came into the hospital, it was very touch and go for her. And I would say for several days we were concerned that she might not make it.
Dr. Julie Long was one of a team of doctors who treated Zoe at Broward General Hospital in South Florida.
Both of her legs were broken, the femurs, the bones in the upper thigh, and it takes a lot of trauma to break those bones. She had a broken arm. She had pulmonary contusion, which are bruises to the lungs, which were making it difficult for her to breathe.
The fact that she didn't die on the scene was just absolutely amazing.
Dr. Richard Foltz was Zoe's neurosurgeon.
The broken bones in her neck should have severed her spinal cord to stop any breathing.
Because she was unconscious, doctors were not immediately aware that Zoe's neck was broken. And each time they moved her to try and save her life, they put her life at risk.
She could have been paralyzed during her initial evaluation, or even the attempts to put the breathing tube in, and even the act of obtaining the x-rays can be life-threatening.
And my wife was saying, it's gonna be fine. I already talked with God. It's gonna be fine. And I'm saying, I'm the Lord, I'm not ready for that shit. I'm still not there yet.
But Dorothy's faith was unwavering. Every day, 24 hours a day, she prayed.
If I was able to eat, I was praying for Zoe. If I was talking to someone, I was praying for Zoe, While I was praying for the other children, of course, in my heart, I was praying for my baby.
She's a very strong-willed woman. She was very positive. She was very certain that her daughter was going to get better.
Zoe had already astounded the doctors once, merely by surviving the accident. But her injuries were so devastating, they doubted she would recover.
We thought she had severe damage to the brain and that her spinal cord had been irreversibly injured.
That she would either be wheelchair-bound or that she would have other neurologic problems that would prevent her from living the kind of life that her parents had hoped for her to have.
For a month, Zoe lay in the pediatric intensive care unit with her head and neck in a brace and pins holding her body together. Her condition was critical and unstable, and with each setback Zoe suffered, her mother's faith was tested. Then one day, Dorothy got news she couldn't bear.
They told me that they didn't think she'd make it through the night. I didn't even tell my husband because I knew he couldn't handle it.
Zoe had already survived 6 operations. Now, both of her lungs were collapsing.
And I felt like this wave of, I'm alone. I gotta go through this by myself. I kind of like closed my eyes and I saw all these people and I'm like, who are all these people? It was a crowd of people. And the Lord put in my spirit, you're not alone. These are all the prayers and they're with you. And you're not by yourself.
That night, Dorothy didn't pray, she rejoiced.
I didn't know what to do, and I went rejoicing. I said, Lord, I'm going to praise you through this moment. And I just went to church, and I danced it out, and I danced all over that church.
Zoe not only made it through the crisis, each day she got stronger. And after 2 months in the hospital, the little girl doctors feared would never recover was being called a medical marvel.
I practically felt like I was seeing a ghost. It was like this lively little girl who was still in a wheelchair but was moving, talking, was absolutely right on target for a child her age.
Zoe Walker survived something that 999 out of 1,000 people would not.
I am the prayer on the lips of my mother. I am the simple truth everyone knows.
It's been 4 years since her accident, and for Zoe, it's as though it never happened. She's happy and healthy and completely healed. While her doctors are amazed at how she beat the odds, Zoe's parents say it was just a matter of faith.
I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't the doctors. I know it was my wife's prayer and the faith of other people that prayed for my daughter. The reason why she's here today.
I can't take any glory, you know, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart because it has nothing to do with me. It was a hard, long road, you know, but I believe that God had done it. We just had to live through the rest of it.